Hey, I'm Sara, and this is my story about how I learned the importance of staying true to myself. It all started when I moved to a new school last year. Starting at a new school was scary. I didn't know anyone, and I was worried about fitting in. On my first day, I felt like an outsider. I wandered into the cafeteria, looking for a place to sit when I noticed a group of girls who seemed to be the center of attention. They were stylishly dressed and laughing together. The leader, Jessica, noticed me standing there awkwardly and waved me over.
Hey, new girl, come sit with us. I'm Jessica, and these are my friends, Emily and Rachel,
she said, smiling brightly. I hesitated, but then smiled back and walked over to join them. I couldn't believe it. The popular girls wanted to be friends with me. I thought this was my chance to fit in. Jessica and her friends were friendly and welcoming. They asked me about my old school, my hobbies, and what I like to do for fun. I told them about my love for reading and how I enjoyed quiet evenings with a good book. They seemed interested, but I could sense they didn't quite understand my passion. As the days passed, I started spending more time with Jessica and her friends. They invited me to go shopping with them, and I felt pressured to buy trendy clothes that I didn't really like. One day, while we were at the mall, Jessica said,
Sara, you should totally get a makeover. You'd look amazing with a new hairstyle and some makeup.
Emily chimed in.
Yeah, and you should definitely join us for shopping this weekend. It'll be fun.
At first, I was excited, but soon I realized they wanted me to be someone I wasn't. They even started commenting on my interests. One afternoon at a cafe, I brought a book to read while we were hanging out. Rachel looked at me and said,
Sara, why are you always reading those boring books? You should come to the party with us instead.
I felt a lump in my throat as I tried to explain. I like reading. It's relaxing. Jessica rolled her eyes playfully.
But you'll miss out on all the fun.
The more time I spent with them, the more I felt like I was losing myself. I started to change my appearance and behavior to fit in. I wore clothes I didn't like, styled my hair differently, and even started to distance myself from my favorite books. I felt like I was living someone else's life. One evening, as I stood in front of my mirror, I barely recognized the girl staring back at me. My new hairstyle and makeup felt like a mask I couldn't take off. I felt unhappy and lost. My mom knocked on the door and walked in.
Hey sweetie, you've been quiet lately. Everything okay?
She asked, concern evident in her voice. I sighed and sat on my bed. I don't know, Mom. I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not, just to fit in. My mom sat beside me and took my hand.
You don't have to change who you are for anyone. The right friends will like you for you,
she said gently. Her words stuck with me. She was right. I needed to find friends who accepted me for who I was. The next day at school, I gathered my courage and approached Jessica and her friends. Hey Jessica, I need to talk to you, I began, trying to keep my voice steady. I've realized something important. I appreciate your friendship, but I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. I need to be true to myself. Jessica looked surprised.
What are you talking about, Sara? We're just trying to help you.
I shook my head. I know, but I need to find friends who like me for who I really am, not for who they want me to be. Jessica shrugged.
If that's how you feel, fine. But you're making a mistake.
Walking away from them was hard, but it was a step I needed to take. I felt a mix of fear and relief. I wondered if I'd find new friends who would accept me. Later that day, I sat alone in the library reading a book. I felt a tap on my shoulder and looked up to see a girl with a friendly smile.
Hi, I'm Lily. I noticed you've been sitting alone. Mind if I join you?
She asked. I smiled back. Sure, I'd love that. Lily and I quickly became friends. She liked me for who I was, and I felt happier and more confident than ever before. We bonded over our shared love of books and movies. We spent hours talking about our favorite stories and characters, and I felt a connection I hadn't felt with Jessica and her friends. One day, Lily invited me to join her and her friends for a weekend camping trip. I hesitated at first, but I decided to give it a try. The camping trip turned out to be an amazing experience. We hiked, told stories around the campfire, and laughed under the stars. It was a stark contrast to the parties and shopping trips with Jessica and her friends. I realized how much I enjoyed the simple things and being around people who genuinely cared about me. Back at school, I became more involved in activities I loved. I joined the school book club, and with Lily's encouragement, I started writing a blog about my favorite books. My blog gained followers, and I received positive feedback from my peers and teachers. One day, my teacher approached me.
Sara, your blog is fantastic. You have a real talent for writing.
I felt a surge of pride. Thank you. It means a lot to hear that. As my confidence grew, I noticed other students who were struggling to fit in. I reached out to them, sharing my own experiences and encouraging them to be themselves. We formed a small group of friends who supported each other, and it felt wonderful to be part of a community that valued authenticity. One day, during a school assembly, Jessica approached me. She seemed different, less confident.
Hey, Sarah, can we talk?
She asked. I nodded, curious about what she had to say. We found a quiet corner and she began.
I've noticed you seem happier lately. I've been thinking about what you said, about being true to yourself. I've been feeling lost too, trying to keep up appearances.
I listened as Jessica opened up about her own struggles. It was a turning point for both of us. We realized that everyone has their own battles, and sometimes even the people who seem to have it all together are struggling inside. We started to rebuild our friendship on a new foundation of honesty and understanding. Embracing my true self was the best decision I ever made. I found friends who valued me for who I was, and I was happier than ever. Looking back, I'm glad I stood up for myself. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I learned that being true to yourself is the most important thing. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to stay true to who you are.